Hey everybody, welcome back. The Bad Pennies are back again.
You're here.
I am Sho, and this is my friend Alan. And today we're going to talk about when plans change.
Yeah. Or as I like to put it, Plan B.
Plan B, Plan C, D, E, F, G, all that stuff. So basically, why we came up with this topic is because of something that happened in my life. The job that I've had for 20 years is shutting down. I thought I had another 10 to go, but I got one.
Yeah.
So it's about a lot of times when you have an idea or a plan that's you've set in motion, and then other circumstances cause it to change. So some people panic, some people pivot and just make it happen. All depends
Some
on
people
how
just
prepared.
go through this stuff without being with no problem at all, and others get caught up in it. And what we don't want to do is get caught up in it, because that's when things slow down and you have a hard time recovering from something. So, all right, well, you ready to get into it?
Let's go.
Really, let's jump in the deep end. All
Yeah.
right, so let's start with the basics. And the basics is that life does not give you what you want. All right, it gives you what it gives you.
It gives you what it gives you. That's a good way to put it.
And you just get what you get. And now it doesn't mean that there aren't ways of being that guide things to you, because I truly believe that because we are all made up of energy, that we're always putting energy out to the universe.
Okay.
And it seems, whether I believe it or not, but at least experience, both for myself and others, and many of the very brilliant men and women that I've studied with over the years have experienced it too, that the universe returns that energy in particular ways. So maybe we'll do, I have a whole thing on being the master of your destiny for men.
Ooh, there you go.
But we're not going to talk about that today, but we're just going to, just touch on it for a brief moment, right?
Yeah.
That there are certain ways of being that we know that as we send that energy out, that it comes back in kind.
Okay.
In many ways.
Yeah.
And the more that you're able to do that, the more that you become the master of your destiny.
Okay.
But there are certain things that you have to master about yourself to be able to do that. There are certain ways of being and disciplines to practice, and depth of character and all of that kind of stuff, which we have touched on again in a lot of our previous videos.
Okay.
But that being said, there are also all the little things that the universe throws, and often most of them, if not all of them, really. In fact, a lot of my teachers would say that all of it is just an opportunity for a lesson. It's an opportunity to learn, but I like to call them curveballs. The unexpected ones, you're thinking you're going to get to work at the same place for 5 to 10 years and realize that the whole thing's being shut down in a year, and that means that you're going to have to change your plans.
The biggest thing is pressure. As the breadwinner, it's up to me to make sure that I can provide, and I have to make sure to do that.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that a lot of people understand that it's not a bad thing when that happens. Usually you wind up better off.
Always. Almost always.
Yeah.
Almost always.
But
it has to do with how you handle it. You handle it.
Right.
Okay. So again, we've talked a lot about disciplines over time, and about how to approach life as a man in order to handle all the things that come at us. Mm-hmm. And lots of stuff comes at us. Changes, and our relationships, and accidents, and unforeseen things. That's all just part of life, and because life isn't static.
Right.
There's nothing in life that's static.
No.
In fact, it's like I know personally when my life feels like it's just kind of like really even, I'm looking for where the shoe's going to drop. Right now, I find that in the past has actually not worked for me. So these days I don't worry about the shoe dropping. I'm more concerned with what's next.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are many ways to set yourself up. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to set yourself up to get through a life change. All right, and they're not subtle. They're not for anyone. They're not really easy things because you've got to rethink stuff. You have to take a look at what it is that you want, where you want to go, and the plans that you previously had made in order to get there are now non-existent or just aren't going to work at all.
Yeah. Right. I mean, roadblocks and detours happen all the time.
Right, exactly. So that's when I call up Plan B. Because Plan B is, even though things are going well, thinking ahead as if something might happen. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, or even foreseeing. Sometimes you can even foresee that something might happen and begin to set in motion things that will mitigate the problems that will result if something does happen, right? Because you don't want to fall off the cliff and crash, right? Nobody wants to do that.
No.
But sometimes you can. That's inevitable too, right? That all right. So okay, you find yourself at the bottom of the cliff. You've crashed. You didn't see it coming. You got blindsided. You know, instead of isn't that interesting? My dear friend is calling me, and I'm gonna have to call him back. Actually, I'd like to bring him into this conversation, but we'll do that another day. We'll set up a third voice here.
Yeah.
But there you go. You find yourself at the bottom of the cliff, and you didn't have a plan B or a C or a D, and you got blindsided by. It wasn't even a curveball. It was a freaking knuckleball, right? I like using the. And then yet another. Isn't it interesting? They all choose right now. They must be. All these people in my life decide that right now.
Yeah.
Even though I've told them that this time every Friday we're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
It's just like some of the women in my life too. It's like, and they know that I'm actually doing something just with the men.
Yeah.
That's exactly when they call.
Right.
It's almost without fail.
Always happens.
So, and again, you just handle it appropriately. So there you crash, right? You're at the bottom of the cliff, and there you crashed. And how you get back up has a lot to do with how you've worked on yourself, how you've molded your character, and how you've become disciplined. And also, and this is probably more important than even those things, is the context that you hold. Because if you go to the victim context, like this happened to me, right? You do realize life happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to you. It just happens.
Yeah. Everybody
experiences it the same way.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I was watching the interview with Robin Wright the other night on Colbert, and Robin Wright was the woman who played opposite Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump. We all love Robin Wright, even though her character was,
I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump.
Blonde.
The Jenny character.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
The one that leaves him and then comes back pregnant but dies and all that. And some people think that she's the enemy. But anyway, a brilliant woman, and also has gotten into producing and directing and things like that. But she actually mentioned how, personally for her life, how it's gone up and down and had all of its challenges. And it, at any level, it's still the same. Doesn't matter whether you have lots of money or you don't have any money, or you're struggling or you're not struggling. It doesn't matter. Life is just life.
Yeah.
And so you prepare yourself emotionally, psychologically, physically, to handle life's knuckleballs and curveballs.
Yeah. And
I tell the men in my life to become very adept at hitting curveballs.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because if all you're hitting is fastballs, you're going to get caught off guard by a really good curveball or a sinker or a good knuckleball, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get caught off guard and you can't hit it.
Right.
You can't hit it. So you want to be able to hit them. But even then, you miss one and off the cliff, bam, you crash. So how you hold it is going to be the difference.
Okay.
All right. And your ability to get back up, pull up your bootstraps. And some of it is how often have we talked about the importance of having men in your life?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, the men in your life and how well you've brought yourself to the quality of the relationships with the men that you have in your life.
Yeah.
That will also help you get back up.
Okay, cool.
Especially if it's really bleak, when you're down there and it's really. And I've had those moments. I've had times in my life where it just looked really bleak, and it was the men in my life that reminded me of all of the light that was still there, that all of the good things, and to be grateful for all the things that happened. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
So go to gratitude. Go to gratitude. Don't go to victim. Victim is a very weak place for a man, right? Yeah. You want to go to be in as much of your power as possible. And you can't be in your power when you think something's happened to you and you take it personally, because then you have a hard time getting back on your feet.
Yeah.
And most of the game,
be emotional about it.
No, you cannot get emotional about it. You get powerful about it. You get centered about it. You ask for help if you need to. You figure things out and you pick a direction and you start working it. Right. So the quicker you get back into the game, the better it's going to be.
Right. And you got to know yourself. Self-assessment. What is it? What are all the skills that you have that can translate in other places?
Yeah.
I think that there are plenty of times in my life when I've been slightly successful at something I've done on the side, and now I'm sitting there thinking about it like, maybe that's something I should be doing more of.
All right.
We talked about earlier about being in a higher purpose.
Exactly. We did talk about that. And and again, you if you're really connected to your purpose in life, it will help you stay on track, because these things that happen in life that you can't predict could potentially knock you off track. And are you going to let it? That's the question. Even if you can't help it, that it knocks you a little off track, or even a lot off track, at that point, you go like, all right, I'm off track. Now what do I need to do to get back on track, right? Where is the track, and where am I? And how do I get from here to there? And again, the way that a good masculine way of approaching it is, what is it that I need to do, right, to be where I need to be and to produce the results that I want to produce? And we've talked in the past about the importance of taking a look at the things that you're producing. And even when you get these things in life that happen, as I said earlier, that a lot of the men and women that I've studied with, we lost a light.
How
did that happen so quickly?
Please stand by.
We're going to come back.
Ready?
Yep.
And we're back. Technical difficulty.
Little technical thing that went on there.
It's been resolved.
Yeah, well,
Plans change, we bounce back.
Batteries. Okay, so again, unplanned, thing, and you handle it. You handle it.
Yeah, you're prepared. You don't know what's in front of you, and you're ready for anything.
So, again, with being careful not to give advice. All right, we're not here really about advice that much, but we are here to talk about the things that work. Okay, so one of the things that we know that work is to avoid letting it take you out. And the way it takes you out,
can't give up.
You don't give up. The way it takes you out is you give up. That you take it personal, that you get emotional, you become a victim. And I find that I like being the hero of my life. And the times that it was a challenge to be the hero of my life, I had been lucky enough, if not smart enough, previous to that happening, that I had the people in my life that lifted me up. right? That lifted me up and reminded me that I was the hero of my life.
There you go.
And that quitting on myself was not an option. Okay. And not only that, it's often when you quit on yourself, you're also quitting on everyone around you.
Yeah.
You don't want to quit. You don't want to give up, even if it's really bleak. Life will go on.
Yeah, you have to. I mean,
well, you don't have to, but
no, you.
But if you want to be powerful in your life and you want to live a great life, then you have to. Then there's no choice how you know bring yourself to those kind of situations.
But I think it's a man thing where it's like you shouldn't. What am I trying to say? It's a man thing where you have to find a way. You have people in your life that depend on you.
Yeah.
You can't give up. You have to pivot. You have to find what it is that's going to work no matter what. Okay? You can't take a second to be a victim and all of this stuff. You just have to all right, cool, let's go. Let's do something else.
All right, so let me use another example.
Go.
Okay. You break a vase.
Break a vase.
You break a vase. Well, okay, so the vase is broken. What do you do about it?
Sweep it up.
You sweep it up, throw it away, get another vase, or glue it back together.
Yeah.
All right. So
and then there's that Japanese thing where they put gold in the cracks.
Exactly. In fact, I actually have one around here somewhere. But I have a vase that's an Oriental vase, and someone had I bought it at a yard sale. And it was a very, very, very expensive vase when it was brand new. But clearly it had broken and someone had glued it back together, and it was almost cooler looking repaired than it was original.
Right.
But again, that's not always the case, but you acknowledge that the vase is broken, and no, it will never be what it was before. You acknowledge that. You acknowledge that you've got some choices around it. Broken vase, sweep it up, glue it back, throw it out, and buy a new one, or just move on.
Yeah.
Right? But in any case, life will move on whether you do or not. And here's the next little piece that's, again, avoiding advice, but knowing some things that work, is to not dwell in it.
Yeah.
Because what you're dwelling in is not the present. You're dwelling more in what happened and the past and whatever fallout there was from it and destruction by it, or, I can't make enough money. It's all of a sudden I lost my job and now my income is down and I can't take care of my family the way I want to. We've all experienced that, or most of us have, at one time or another. And again, how you pick yourself up and get back into the game and battle. The sooner you do that, the sooner the solutions to all of this will happen.
Yeah.
Because if you stay in that past, it's like a vice. It's like a big ass vice, and it gets a hold of you, and it just holds you there in the past.
Okay.
And not only does it prevent you from moving forward and getting back in the game, but it keeps you in that victim mentality. It keeps you in that, and it determines. And look, I'm just going to jump back to what I said a few minutes ago about being the master of your destiny and sending energy out into the universe. The energy, when you're stuck in that past, it literally keeps your past as the present. It's the universe starts feeding back that energy. What do you call it? Negative energy or positive? That's all for the philosophers to figure out.
Yeah.
But it does send a certain kind of energy out into the universe, and what we've discovered over the years, or at least seen consistently enough to know that there's something to it. Right? Why? I don't know. Why there's something to it. Again, that's for physicists, particle physics and quantum and philosophers and religious scholars or whatever to figure out. But we know that there's enough consistency to say that there is something going on here.
Yeah.
And that you will if you're putting out all that negativity, negativity will come back.
Yeah.
You're putting out a solution, and positivity, then that's what's going to come back mostly.
Yeah.
Again, not 100% necessarily,
Yeah.
but again, these things that happen along the pathway, all right, can be looked at as it's your light too. So
yeah, I need it.
the black guy just went like into the black. I have an idea.
Okay.
All right. Ta-da!
Back again.
Another unplanned jaunt into the lack of charged battery. So
we're gonna get back to it. So here's one thing that I was visualizing as you were talking about, and that's pressing on, moving forward no matter what. You'll figure it out as you go. But don't stop. I mean, you can be on a path and not be sure about where the path is going to take you, but just stay on the path. Or not so much stay on the path, but just keep moving forward. There's going to be changes in the road. There's going to be forks and all that other stuff, but you won't get them if you stop.
Right. And of course, the other word for stopping is quitting. And we cannot emphasize enough the danger of quitting. And quitting shows up a lot of different ways. Okay. Quitting shows up mentally, emotionally, physically. It's caving in,
stuck in a rut,
holding a context that's too small, letting go of your purpose or not having a strong enough purpose to keep you moving. Another word we use for purpose sometimes is a cause. What is your cause? What are you fighting for? Men, I find men do well when they have a cause that's worthy of their life, that's worthy to fight for. And often, their cause for a lot of men is their families. They're the people they care about, the people they love, the people that love them, and that it's enough to get you back up. On the other hand, I have seen a number of situations where men quit. It was like, oh, it's too much, or it's too difficult, or whatever it is. And the price isn't just your own life, right? Most of the time when we quit, it's how it affects all of the people around us.
Yeah. Also, this is an opportunity for you to be an example for other people in your life. When they see that you've made it through, it gives them courage to go further with their life.
You know what? That's so brilliant. That's so brilliant. I'm so glad you thought of that, because as a father, and I'm thinking back about my own dad, because I there were a couple of things that happened. In fact, once he got hurt really, really badly and could not work.
Okay.
And he just didn't quit. When his company let him go because of his injury, which was a pretty crappy ass thing to do, but they did. He got hurt and they let him go. They just let him go. And my father, when he was able to move around, got a job at McDonald's. This is a man in his late 40s, and he just went out and got a job flipping burgers, and just to have some income, and just to be in motion. And what was interesting about it wasn't very long after he got that job that he started flipping burgers that another company called him up and said, "We want you to come and work for us." Right? So again, what he put out into the universe is that I am willing to do whatever it takes for my family, for my life, for my purpose. I am not letting this injury take me out.
No, you can't.
And so that brings me to another little piece of the equation.
Okay.
The other little piece of the equation is about your ability to adapt. And I know in the military they talk about adapt and overcome. Okay.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
But improvise, adapt, and overcome. Yeah. And we've heard that before, and we've heard it in movies and stuff like that. And if you've been in the military, you've heard it. But I'm just going to talk about adapting and also making a shift in how you're doing things. All right, because sometimes adapting is really about shifting things. Like when you have a particular challenge and the way you've been going at taking care of that challenge isn't working. Mm-hmm. So do you want to keep doing the same thing that's not working? Mm-hmm. Again, remember the old, the AA thing about insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But so the ability to shift, and it's not just about mitigation. It's really about taking another approach, right? And adapting yourself, and using whatever you do have, whatever skills you have, whatever resources you have, whether they're your own or your borrowed or lent, or just your friends, your family, whatever those are, and that you do. Sometimes you have to do an end run, right? Sometimes it makes me crazy. I won't mention the particular football team, but it happens to be my football team, and the coach is considered one of the very, very best in the industry, right? Okay. And one of the winningest ones, and in a particular way. And again, I can't give too much information because everyone will know who I'm talking about. But the thing is he will do this weird thing. They'll get down on the 1 yard line, and he'll run the same plays that he's always run for the last 5 years or 6 years. I can tell you exactly the play he's going to run and the order that he's going to run it, and the other team knows it, and they kick his ass. And here, a team that's able to easily move all the way across, 90 yards across the field, and do it, even overcoming multiple third down situations. And he gets all that into one line and can't get the ball across 1 yard. Yet he just moved it 90 yards.
Okay.
And because he's using the same damn set of plays that he always uses when he gets to the 1 yard line. And it's like, dude, have you not learned anything yet about how this game is played? Because most of the success is doing the thing that your opponent doesn't expect.
Yeah, you gotta. Football is a game of deception.
It is, totally. And the better you are at deceiving, the more successful you actually are. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why they fake handoffs and they fake passes and they do all of these kinds of things to throw off the defense. Right. So it applies to life. This conversation applies to life, because if you're going at it the same way, then and it's not working, you don't want to just keep banging your head against the wall, or as a really good friend of mine says, he just keeps slamming his dick in the door, right? So do we have to bleep that? I couldn't figure out another way to say it.
You did it. We're fine.
It's out there, right? So we'll get the letters. So, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, we've all done that. We've all been there and just kept slamming our dick in the door until we went, you know what? This fucking hurts, right? This just hurts, and I've got to stop doing this. So you can keep doing that, or you can do it once and say that didn't work, and then take a look at another way to do it. An end run, a pass, whatever it is, but not the same thing that you've been doing all along.
I like the fact that in the beginning of the video you talked about baseball, and now we're at football. Just once again, plans change.
Well, wait until March Madness, and I'll be talking about basketball, right? Because I'm a big basketball fan. So anyway, the deal is that there are ways that will keep you in the game. Just like my dad stayed in the game, and he got a stupid ass job that didn't pay nearly enough money, but he was in action. He was moving. He said to the universe, I am going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to get out there. And if there isn't a job on the table for me, I'm working at McDonald's just to pay for groceries, just to be able to bring groceries home. And you know what they did? This is the funny thing. He would within 2 or 3 weeks, they made him a manager.
Yeah.
He was a manager. So they
Get
bumped up his salary.
yeah.
And as soon as they made him a manager, that's when he got a job offer
Yeah.
and then, and went back to work.
But when someone else sees your potential, that definitely helps. And you got to go out there. That's a good point in your story about your dad, is that when you go out there and do your best with everything it is that you're going to do, you will be recognized, you will be rewarded for it. It could be from other people, it could just be from the universe itself.
Well, even if you don't think you're getting rewarded for it, because you're not doing it to get reward, right? You're doing it to move forward. You're doing it to stay in the game. Mm-hmm. You got to stay in the game. Expectations. This is another thing that keeps us. When you've crashed at the bottom of the cliff, our expectations disappoint us. And living life, whether it's even in a relationship or how you're parenting, you don't want to have expectations. And I've had men and women argue this with me, like, well, without expectations, and I'm like, no. There's a difference between knowing what you want to get out of something and having an expectation. So having an expectation will absolutely lead to disappointment every single time.
Okay. You
expect shit from your kids, they're going to disappoint you. You expect things from your wife, she's going to disappoint you.
Yeah.
So, and even when you expect things from yourself. So but that doesn't mean that you don't have goals and that there aren't things that you want to get out of it. And you need to be clear about that, so that you're moving and doing the things, moving in that direction and doing the things that keep you moving in that direction. Otherwise, that will also take you mentally out of the game. And just like with baseball or football or any sport, really, maybe we'll cover soccer, but it's not my specialty, or hockey. Even though, one of my dearest friends is a hockey star, or a former hockey star, and he's amazing, and he likes to talk hockey all the time. And it just goes through me. I get what a great game it is, and how much skill is involved on so many levels. I just never totally got into it because maybe it's just I can't see the damn thing going up and down.
I think that's everybody's biggest problem.
Anyway, but the bottom line is that you got to keep going. And you got to make sure that you police this, right? You got to police this. Whatever's happening up here, you got to get on top of it and not let those expectations happen, the victim mentality happen. And you do this by creating for yourself the best context you can.
I like
and
that.
The most powerful way of being, and not taking any of this personal, right?
Yeah.
And that way you make what we call the course correction.
Boom. There it is.
You knew I was leading to that, right?
Bam.
All right. So even the adaptation is part of the course correction. So when you adapt, you realize that you've gone this way, you've crashed, or it's going off track, right? And so you got to course correct to get back on. So you found yourself, this is where you want to be. Can you see my hand there? And then you're way over here. You realize you want to be back there. You got to change your course.
Yeah.
And what do you have to do to make that course change?
Turn the wheel.
Turn the wheel, and maybe brake a little bit.
Yeah.
Take a look at what's going on and get help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. Police your mind. Get your contacts straight. Get your purpose straight.
Yeah.
All of those things that you can do.
The biggest thing that you said was don't be a victim.
And don't be a victim.
That's the biggest thing. And when you're not a victim, everything else can move where it needs to go.
The universe is one of the most impersonal places that can exist. Because we're considering the size of it and the scope of it, we're pretty insignificant. Even though we don't think we're insignificant, because we're who we are, right? I just tipped my mic. We are who we are. And we don't think we're insignificant, but in the big picture, we're just little microscopic things in the universe and the universe just moves on the way it moves on.
Yeah.
So if you are taking it personal, then it's going to be very, very difficult. Personal is victim. And it will be difficult to course correct. It'll be difficult to make those attitude adjustments that you need to make. Same thing with hey, let's use an airplane as an example. I like flying. So we got all those amazing airplanes in the other room. So a pilot is doing this constantly. A pilot is constantly course correcting. The compass on an airplane is a regular compass points to true north.
Okay.
Not true north. It points to magnetic north, and true north is a couple of degrees off. And so after a certain distance of navigation, the plane is actually off course, and you have to course correct for the difference between true north and magnetic north. Okay. And it's different. Those course corrections are different in different parts of the globe. And there are all kinds of formulas and stuff for dealing with it. But with GPS, it's these days, when you're using GPS, it's a lot more accurate, right? So they're having to, if you're following the compass heading, your GPS will start to tell you after a while that you need to correct. And it's much easier to have to do that than the old days when they had to, use a slide rule or a calculator and figure it out and use the formula to be able to do so many minutes of flying at a certain speed. You've got to correct your course a certain amount of degrees, right? So you're always figuring that in. So life's the same way. You're always having to take a look at how off course you are and making the corrections to get back on. And those aren't necessarily plan Bs. That's just
part of the plan.
Part of living. It's part of, and dare I say that it's part of being an adult.
Okay.
It's part of being a grown-up. Yeah. Right? When you're a kid, you don't have to worry about this stuff. But once you become an adult, these are things that adults have to be concerned with. And to not be concerned with it or not deal with it or deal with it like a victim or whatever is actually childish in many ways. It's acting more like a boy than like a man.
Yeah.
And since we're talking to men here and you want to take life on like a man and go into it boldly, unemotionally, powerfully, with conviction and intention and commitment.
I remember in my
honor. Should we say honor?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna parallel what you're saying right now.
Okay.
I remember in my early 20s, one day I got a phone call from my wife. I was actually traveling, doing some business related stuff. And I got a call, and she says she's pregnant. And I said, okay. We weren't really trying, but here we go. Now what?
Ta-da.
You got to do it. You can't panic. You can't get in your feelings about it. You got to go out there and make it happen. And like what you're saying, it's just a thing where it's like, okay, this is the new reality. Move forward. That's it. What are you going to do?
By the way, I have a tip for men who get that call, whether it's expected or not. Remember that certain ways. So this is a little off topic, but not totally. But it happens sometimes, right? Your wife calls you and says, "Oh, honey, the test, I'm pregnant." All right. Your first response should not be silence. Right? Let's just get that out there right now. Your immediate response cannot be long, dead silence, or even her hearing you going, "Oh fuck," under your breath. Right? This is not the appropriate way to take care of your wife. Right? So you get into your mind, for you men that are at a place where that might happen to you sometime. And again, this is one of life's curveballs, so it is kind of on topic, right? But it shouldn't be a total surprise, because you know what you did that got you to that place in the first place. So that's already a given, right? Oh boy, all right, I should have done something different if you didn't want to get pregnant. But you know that something that you did what you did.
Actions have consequences.
Exactly.
Or actions have results.
They have results? Yes. Well, consequences tends to have a negative connotation in our culture, but consequences are not negative or positive. They're just the result of an action. That's all it is. It's just the result. And sometimes there are consequences that we embrace fully, that we want to have happen, and then there are the ones that provide a lesson for us, right? That provide some opportunity to learn something, so that we're more powerful and stronger and better in the future, handle things better. But back to the subject.
Okay.
So she calls you up and she says she's pregnant. The first thing out of your mouth, and it should be very quickly, is something to the effect of, "I love you.
Okay.
You are the greatest."
I don't think that's what I said.
And this is amazing.
I think mine was more of, "Oh, okay."
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't do that. Right. Look, because you do that and it's going to go on a list and it will come out sometime years down the road when you least expect it. Because remember that every time you do something that is boneheaded, that we have a tendency to do, not only does she remember it, but she will remember it forever.
Oh yeah, it'll store in the file cabinet.
It goes
alphabetical order with a Dewey Decimal
25 years later,
she knows exactly where it is.
boom,
Straight out.
there it comes right out.
Yep.
So a good way to handle that is just to go like, "I love you, honey.
Oh,
You're the greatest.
there you go.
And this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is how amazing is this, right?"
Hey.
That's a good place. So store that in your brains.
Yeah.
So that when or if that happens, you've already got a plan.
But
You've already got, and it's a good plan. It's not, and we're not. And I guarantee you're not lying, right? This is not. Even if there's a part of you, that's going like, "Ooh, all right, how are we going to pay for this?"
Yeah,
Well,
figure it out.
all the unknowns. Yeah, forget it.
But I think that, this goes along with everything else that we've been talking about, is that, when you do get a change in the plan, okay, accept it, move forward with that change.
It's a thing. It's a change. It's a change. And, and with all the ones, and we talked a lot about, the off the cliff crash, things are, something really disastrous happened and how to deal with that. But even the smaller stuff you handle in very similar ways. No problem. I can handle this. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We got it.
Sometimes, I just, when she's going, all upset about something, I just say things like, "It's going to be okay, and we're going to figure this out, and it's not going to be a big deal."
Yeah.
And then I can hear a sigh of relief. But I also notice when I say that there's kind of a grounding for me too.
Yeah.
That it puts me in a place of saying, "Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to be grounded and unemotional about it, and make whatever course corrections and attitude adjustments that you have to make." Here's one other thing we did. Another word we haven't used yet: compensate. We haven't used the word compensate yet. And compensate comes into play a lot, especially when you've got a particular challenge or a weakness that you're aware of personal. I'm not really good at this thing, or I'm not really good at that thing. And when you know that there are certain things you're not really good at, then you compensate by strengthening the things that you are good at.
Okay.
All right. So then you find other ways to deal with, including, getting help. Right. So let's use a basketball example. We've been through baseball and football, so let's use basketball.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So you're the player that cannot hit the three-pointer, but you're really good at passing.
Okay.
But your team needs a three-pointer. So you get so good at passing that you can get that ball to your three-point shooter, your more consistent three-point shooter, anywhere he is on the court. Whatever position he is outside of the three-point arc, you can get that ball to him. And you know how to get it to him, right? So you don't spend your whole life trying to shoot the three-pointer, because it's not, sure, you can practice it, but when you're on the court, you're not trying to learn or master the three-point shooting when you're in the middle of a game.
Okay.
And life is the middle of a game. This is it. Life is right now.
Yeah,
So you're in the game, and you want to stay in the game. You want to be as powerful and as strong in the game as possible. So you use the abilities that you have to the best of your ability, and you pass it.
Okay.
Right? You pass it to the three-point shooter when the three-point, or if just or you're also really good at moving the ball up and down court, right? They'll get you the ball. They'll throw the ball to you to be able to do that. You use whatever those extras. It's the same thing with the one shot that I was terrible at was baseline shots. No backboard, right? There's no, you can't even be the slightest bit off. It has to go in the hoop 100%.
Yeah.
And otherwise you miss.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and you don't exactly know, because wherever it hits on the rim, how it's going to come out.
Right.
And it could go to the other team. So there's a lot of unknowns. And yet there are players that's their shot. And when they're at the base, and even in the three-point range, sideways to the basket, they just drop it every single time. If they get open, there's not a man in their face. They just go, and it's in.
As being prepared, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they're good at. They've practiced it, but it's part of their a combination of things: talent and practice, repetition, discipline, and confidence.
Yeah.
So, because if you're not confident in your ability, then even with the things that you're really good at, you will have a tendency to mess them up, because your lack of confidence. So there is a mental game to getting back in the game too.
Okay.
And this is why I said earlier to police this. Policing this is policing that mental game. There's plenty of books. The Tao Te Ching, is that how it's pronounced?
I don't know. Never read
Great
it.
book. Read it. But there's also books on the Tao of tennis or the Tao of golf. And it is winning. It isn't about the techniques. Technique is, again, practice, craft. You've got talent, ability, a practice, which develops your craft and mastery over it.
Yeah.
And then there's the mental game.
Yeah.
And these books only deal with the mental game, because even with the talent and the craft and all of that, worked up to a high level of mastery, if you don't have the mental game, if you're not in the mental game, that will take you out. It'll just take you out.
I think one last point that I want to make to the people is to use the resources that are available to you. It could be something where, someone or something else can lead you in another direction. You had no idea, but you have to look at all that's available to you in order for you to find out how you're going to make these pivots that you need to make. And,
and the bottom line with all of that is get back into the game. Be in action. Just like my dad. He went out and got a job at McDonald's just to be moving in a direction.
There you go.
How many times have we told men, just get a job?
Yeah.
Oh, that's below me. Well, it was, for my dad, he didn't make it below him. It was way below. We knew it was way below him. It was like, he came home and said, I've taken a job at McDonald's, and everybody was in shock. But it took years for me to figure out, because it was like, my dad's working at McDonald's. It was like, no, what's your dad do? He works in McDonald's. But again, they promoted him. I mean, it's like boom, 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 right? But it's But it wasn't about that. It took me years to figure that out, that it was all about moving forward.
Moving forward.
And staying in action.
There you go.
So stay in action. Get back in the game. I get it. It hurts when you get knocked down. It's painful. We get that. Take that to the men in your life. But don't let it keep you down there. Just get back up and brush yourself off, just like in any game, right? Especially football. But but brush yourself. Brush off. Handle your wounds and get back in.
Yeah.
Be in action.
Be the warrior.
Be a warrior.
Listen, this was a great talk, everybody. I appreciate everything you had to say, Alan.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you again.
I'll see you. Thanks.
Bad Pennies.
Bad Pennies will return.